Today is the 6-month anniversary of the murder, and I use that word advisedly, of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, I don't know if it's going to be commemorated in Ferguson, if there's going to be demonstrations or protests, but one of the things that the murder of Michael Brown has brought out is how small towns across the United States, particularly small towns where you've got a largely black population and a largely white power structure, have turned their largely black population, although it's not always just African Americans. I mean, it could just be a poor population. The way that they extract money from these folks is with these parking tickets and things that then people don't show up in court, and as a consequence of not showing up in court, they are now, eligible to be arrested, and thus you have debtors prison. And here's this piece from today's New York Times by Monica Davey. There are 2 lawsuits now, both of them in Missouri, one of them in Ferguson, the other in another St. Louis suburb called Jennings. And this from the New York Times article starts out telling the story of Herbert Nelson Jr. It's an African-American living in Ferguson, Missouri. He was 18 years old the first time the police pulled him over. He got a speeding ticket. He thought, this is no big deal. But he got more and more tickets, and then he didn't have any money, so he didn't show up in court to pay the fine, and when he didn't show up in court, they issued arrest warrants for him. So Mr. Nelson, now 26, has found himself repeatedly jailed in the St. Louis suburb, writes Monica Davey in the New York Times, and in a maze of municipalities nearby, part of a pattern that black residents have complained has grown all too common. I live a normal life, he says. I've got a son. I'm not a bad person. I just don't have the money to pay for all this. Mr. Nelson, who paints buildings but is out of work, is among 15 residents of the St. Louis region who filed 2 lawsuits on Sunday evening, one against Ferguson, one against Jennings. And as Monica Davey writes, they allege that the cities have created an unconstitutional, modern-day debtors prison, putting impoverished people behind bars in overcrowded, unlawful, and unsanitary conditions with walls streaked with dirt, mucus, and feces. In the Jennings jail, 2 suicides have been reported since 2013. The purpose of the tickets and jailings, the lawsuit suggests, has been largely financial, to raise revenue to keep these tiny St. Louis counties afloat, these municipalities afloat. Mr. Nelson, he's 26 now, he has a 23-year-old sister, Allison Nelson. She says, and I quote, this is from this same New York Times article, "Anytime I go outside, I fear that I'll be stopped by the police." She got her first traffic ticket, by the way, when she was 18 years old. She has since been held in lockups that she's described as filthy and smelling of mold, sewage, and sweat. Once she said she was arrested outside her family's home while still in her nightgown. Miss Nelson said, "You drive to work so you can pay the fines, but then you get pulled over so you owe even more." She makes $7.75 an hour at a clothing store. She wanted to join the Navy, but you can't join the Navy when you've got all these criminal charges against you. In fact, in Ferguson, which has a population of 21,000, for every 1,000 people in Ferguson, there are 1,500 arrest warrants. You get that? 21,000 people, over 30,000 arrest warrants. This is like, the white power structure of this town has turned pretty much everybody in the town into a criminal. This is so wrong. This and the idea that if you don't pay your tickets or if you don't show up in court, you go to jail, and then on top of that, they can confiscate your car, they can confiscate your home. In fact, they do routinely. And now you have to prove your innocence, which flips our system of justice on its head. They don't have to prove your guilt. You have to prove your innocence, and then you have to petition to get your stuff back, which only happens about 10% of the time. Completely innocent people.